Kevin Hart, the funny guy we all know and love, has found himself caught up in something no one saw coming. Diddy's notorious freak-off parties. Well, now the FBI is involved, and leaked footage shows Kevin right in the middle of it all. The world of Diddy's infamous parties. What makes them so scandalous? When you think of a Hollywood party, Diddy's infamous bashes have been at the top of that list for decades. Diddy, or P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, whatever you want to call him, has built a reputation as the ultimate party host. It's not just about throwing a wild night, it's about creating an event that people will talk about for years. Celebrities like Jamie Foxx, Usher, and even 50 Cent have all had something to say about these over-the-top celebrations. But behind the glitz and glamour of Diddy's parties, there have always been whispers, and those whispers are far from innocent. For years, Hollywood has been buzzing with rumors about what really goes down at these events. Sure, to the public, it might seem like the hottest ticket in town: luxury, A-list celebs, champagne flowing, and music blasting. But according to those in the know, Diddy's parties have more of a Sin City vibe than your typical red carpet event. Imagine this: rooms filled with Hollywood's elite. Everyone's drinking heavily, maybe even dabbling in some illegal substances. The energy is wild, and things start getting blurry real fast. But it's what happens behind closed doors that really gets people talking. Diddy's parties have earned a reputation for being way more than just late-night fun. These are gatherings where things get downright raunchy. Think of them as the modern-day version of the decadent parties you read about in The Great Gatsby. Only add in a much wilder, almost sinister vibe. Everyone's wearing their finest clothes when they walk in, but it doesn't take long before things get explicit, with people losing their inhibitions, sometimes entirely. The booze flows endlessly, and there are rumors of illicit items being passed around like candy. And let's not forget about the hookups. Diddy's parties are notorious for attracting all kinds of scandalous behavior: men with men, women with women, and everything in between. It's no wonder that for some, these parties are a dream come true, while for others, like 50 Cent, they're a nightmare. 50 Cent has been vocal about how uncomfortable he feels at Diddy's parties, even making jokes that hint at the uncomfortable, sometimes awkward energy in the air. According to him, these parties are weird, and he's not alone in feeling that way. Celebrities like Usher, who spent time living with Diddy, have alluded to seeing things that most people wouldn't believe, especially at such a young age. Diddy's parties might look glamorous on the outside, but once you're in, the vibe can quickly shift from fun to freaky. And when someone like Jamie Foxx admits that even he was taken aback by the wildness of it all, you know these gatherings are on another level. Kevin Hart's role, a shocking twist in the story. Kevin Hart's name being thrown into the mix with Diddy's infamous freak-off parties came as a shock to just about everyone. When you think of Kevin Hart, you picture the funny man who's always cracking jokes and keeping things light. But when footage leaked of Kevin attending and even seemingly co-hosting one of Diddy's wild parties, it painted a very different picture of the comedian. This wasn't the usual Kevin we're used to seeing. Suddenly, people were looking at him in a whole new light, and not in a good way. The leaked footage showed Kevin Hart at one of Diddy's parties, and let's just say, he wasn't just standing in the corner sipping on a drink. He was actively involved, making jokes and telling people to take off their hats in a way that felt like more than just playful banter. The vibe was strange, and Kevin seemed to be in on it, making suggestive comments that had some people laughing and others raising an eyebrow. There's a point where Kevin even tells people, "If you're not talking to a girl, you've gotta go," which seemed like an odd rule for a Hollywood party, but at Diddy's freak-off events, it's just another day. The footage gets even more explicit, as it shows Kevin leading a group into the bathroom, where things start to look really questionable. He's seen surrounded by several women, all packed into a bathtub, and while he's still making jokes, the scene feels a little too intimate. Kevin looks like he's putting on a show for the camera, and while some of it might seem harmless at first, the longer you watch, the more you realize that this is not the kind of situation you'd expect Kevin Hart to be in. What's even stranger is how comfortable he seems, as if this isn't the first time he's found himself in a wild, borderline raunchy party scene like this. But the real eyebrow-raising moment comes when Kevin and Diddy end up in the bedroom. Diddy, clearly feeling a little nervous, starts making jokes himself. Jokes about how Kevin shouldn't get too close, adding in a no homo comment to lighten the mood. But despite the jokes, the tension in the air is palpable. It's clear that Diddy didn't want this part of the night to be captured on camera, and his body language makes it obvious that he's worried about what people might see. Fans watching the leaked footage were quick to pick up on this, with many speculating that Diddy was simply trying to cover up his own private behavior. After all, rumors about Diddy's sexuality have been floating around for years, and this footage only adds more fuel to that fire. Kevin Hart's involvement in all this has left fans in shock. This isn't the clean-cut, family-friendly comedian we're used to seeing on stage. Instead, it's a much more explicit, raunchy side of Kevin that many didn't know existed. While Kevin hasn't publicly commented on the leaked footage yet, it's clear that being tied to Diddy's Freakoff parties isn't going to do him any favors in the public eye. Whether this is just a one-off incident or if Kevin has been attending these parties for years remains to be seen, but one thing's for sure. This footage has changed the way people see Kevin Hart, and it's not the kind of attention he's used to. Inside the Freakoff parties, what really happens? Diddy's parties are known for being wild, but the Freakoff parties? They take things to a whole new level. These aren't just about luxury, drinks, and good music. No, the atmosphere is way more intense, like something out of an X-rated movie that no one really wants to admit they're watching. It's the kind of event where rules seem to go out the window, and everyone's just a little too comfortable with crossing the line. The stories and rumors coming out of these parties make it clear that what happens behind Diddy's closed doors is a far cry from your typical red carpet after-party. These are events where inhibitions are left at the door, and things get freaky fast. We're talking man-on-man, woman-on-woman, group activities. Basically, everything you can imagine in terms of adult behavior happens here. And from what people have said, it's not subtle either. Everyone's up close and personal in a way that would make even the most seasoned Hollywood partygoer blush. The vibe is charged, to say the least. These parties are known for pushing the boundaries. People get wasted, and once they do, the scene shifts from playful to straight-up raunchy. Attendees talk about how the atmosphere changes. One minute, it's just people mingling with drinks in hand, and the next thing you know, people are making out, touching, and more, right in front of everyone. And the crazy part is, no one seems to bat an eye. It's almost like this behavior is expected at Diddy's parties. If you're not getting in on the action, you're probably in the minority. Let's not forget about the hot tub incident. This moment is one of the most talked about parts of the leaked footage featuring Kevin Hart. Picture this: Kevin, clearly enjoying himself, leads the party up to a private area where there's a massive hot tub. He's surrounded by a bunch of women, and things are getting steamy, literally and figuratively. Kevin's making jokes as usual, but there's a weird vibe that creeps in. At one point, he's seen joking about not wanting to get in the hot tub, but as the camera lingers, it becomes clear that the scene is a little too intimate for comfort. The women in the hot tub aren't just hanging out, they're all over each other, and Kevin's egging them on. Even though Kevin's cracking jokes, it feels like more than just innocent humor. It's like he's part of the show, and everyone's watching. The vibe quickly goes from fun to, what the hell is going on here? It's moments like these that make you realize these aren't normal Hollywood parties. There's something much wilder, and maybe even a little dangerous. People are letting loose in ways that would never fly in the public eye, and the fact that Kevin is right in the middle of it is what makes the whole situation so shocking. It's not every day you see one of Hollywood's biggest comedians in a scene like this. These freak-off parties have always been the subject of rumors, but the leaked footage just confirms what people have been whispering about for years. Diddy's gatherings aren't just parties. They're full-blown hedonistic experiences where anything goes and no one really seems to care who's watching. With the FBI now reportedly interested in what's happening at these events, it feels like we're only just beginning to scratch the surface of what goes down at these freaky affairs. The no homo moment, Diddy's nervous behavior. If you've seen the clip, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It's the kind of moment that makes you cringe, not because of the joke itself, but because of the way Diddy delivers it and what it suggests about the entire situation. Here's what went down. Kevin Hart and Diddy are hanging out in a bedroom, and at one point, Kevin gets a little too close to Diddy for his comfort. Diddy, clearly feeling some type of way, quickly throws out a no homo comment, like he's trying to diffuse the situation before anyone can get the wrong idea. It's supposed to be funny, I guess, but the way Diddy says it and the nervousness in his body language tell a different story. He's shifting in his seat, making jokes, but you can tell he's worried about how this whole scene might look on camera. The thing is, this isn't just some random comment. It taps into the long-standing rumors about Diddy's sexuality, rumors that have been following him around since the 90s. For years, people have speculated that Diddy might be gay or at least experimenting with his sexuality, and moments like this only add fuel to the fire. The way Diddy reacted, almost panicking when Kevin got too close, makes you wonder if there's more to these rumors than just idle gossip. It's almost like Diddy was scared that this footage might capture something he didn't want the world to see. What makes this moment even more interesting is how quickly Diddy tries to brush it off. He's doing everything he can to make it seem like it's no big deal, but the tension in the air is obvious. Fans watching the footage immediately picked up on this. They started speculating that Diddy wasn't just uncomfortable with Kevin getting close, he was worried that the camera might catch something he's been trying to keep private for years. And with the way rumors work in Hollywood, it didn't take long for people to start talking about Diddy's possible gay escapades and whether or not he's been hiding the truth about his sexuality. But here's the thing, Diddy's sexuality shouldn't really matter, should it? We live in a time where people are a lot more open-minded about these things, but what does matter is how much Diddy is trying to cover up. It's not about whether he's gay, straight, or something else entirely. It's about the lengths he's going to hide it, if the rumors are true. And when you throw in the fact that these parties allegedly involve some seriously questionable behavior, including rumors of underage attendees, it starts to paint a much darker picture. The gay rumors and initiation rites. Truth or fiction? When it comes to Diddy, rumors about his sexuality have been swirling around for as long as anyone can remember. From the late 90s to today, people have speculated whether Diddy is hiding something about his personal life. And the more you hear, the stranger the stories get. Diddy's sexuality shouldn't really matter. Who he chooses to be with in his private life is his business. But here's where things get interesting. The rumors about Diddy's sexuality aren't just about who he's attracted to. They're wrapped up in much bigger whispers about what goes on at his notorious parties. And according to industry insiders, these events are more than just parties. They're initiation rituals for Hollywood's elite. Let's get into the juiciest part of the gossip, the so-called initiation rites. The idea is that Diddy's parties aren't just about having a good time. They're about power, control, and making sure people are willing to do anything, and we mean anything, to climb the ladder of fame. Allegedly, young actors and musicians are invited to these exclusive gatherings, thinking they're just going to network with big names and maybe let loose for a night. But once they're in, things start to get weird. These parties are said to involve, favors, with some guests being asked to prove their loyalty to Diddy and his inner circle. In return, they get a fast track to fame, connections, and success. It sounds like something out of a bad movie, but the rumors have persisted for years. There are stories of young stars, still hungry for their big break, getting sucked into this world and being forced into uncomfortable situations. Some even suggest that Diddy uses these parties to vet who's willing to cross boundaries for success, creating a power dynamic where he holds all the cards. In return for their compliance, these up-and-coming stars get their shot at stardom. If they say no, they're out, never to be invited back into the inner circle. One of the more famous examples tied to this rumor mill is Jamie Foxx. Now, Jamie has been one of the most vocal celebrities when it comes to talking about Diddy's parties, and from what he said, it's pretty clear that these events were unlike anything he had ever experienced. According to Jamie, back in the day, he was desperate to get close to Diddy, even following him around in the hopes of getting an invite to one of these exclusive gatherings. And when Jamie finally got in, he was blown away by just how wild things were. Diddy's parties weren't just about blowing off steam. They were extravagant, over-the-top affairs that involved more than just drinking and dancing. Jamie Foxx has hinted that he saw things he could hardly believe, and while he's never outright said what went on behind closed doors, the implication is that Diddy's parties were far from innocent. Jamie's stories have only added more fuel to the speculation surrounding Diddy's initiation rituals. Was Foxx just along for the ride, or did he get caught up in something bigger? We may never know, but the fact that so many people, including Jamie, have alluded to the secretive nature of these events makes you wonder if there's some truth behind the gossip. Whether or not these initiation rumors are true, they've certainly shaped the way people view Diddy's parties. They've gone from being glamorous A-list events to being seen as something much darker and more sinister. And with more celebrities coming forward with cryptic comments and stories, it's hard not to wonder just how deep this goes. The parties, the rumors, the power plays, it all paints a picture of Diddy as not just a party host, but a gatekeeper to a secretive world where success might come at a steep price. Kevin Hart and Diddy's brotherly love more than meets the eye. During the live stream, Diddy, with a smile on his face, casually called Kevin Hart beautiful. Yeah, beautiful. Even Kevin seemed taken aback by the compliment, and you could tell by the look on his face that he didn't really know how to respond. I mean, we all know Kevin Hart isn't exactly the shy type, but this was one of those moments that caught even him off guard. Fans, of course, went wild with speculation. Was Diddy just being playful, or was there something more going on here? This is where things get tricky, because Diddy's brotherly love for Kevin Hart didn't exactly feel like the kind of banter you'd expect between two guys. It felt a little too intimate, a little too personal. Sure, Diddy is known for showering his friends with love, but calling Kevin beautiful on a live stream? That's next-level flattery, and people were quick to notice. Kevin, for his part, laughed it off, but the moment still felt strange, especially when you consider the context of everything else that's been swirling around Diddy. So why all the attention on Kevin Hart? It's a good question, and it's not just because Kevin is one of the biggest comedians in the world. Some people think Diddy's extra attention toward Kevin might be more than just friendly banter. Maybe it's because Diddy sees Kevin as part of his inner circle, or maybe there's something deeper going on. After all, Diddy's parties and the rumors surrounding them have always carried a certain level of mystery, and his relationships with other celebs have often sparked curiosity. Some fans have speculated that Diddy's affection toward Kevin Hart could be a sign of something more, like he's trying to pull Kevin closer into his world, where the lines between friendship and something else are blurred. The brotherly love might be real, but there's definitely a sense of unease when you look at how Diddy interacts with Kevin. Is Diddy just playing around, or is there a reason why he's so keen on keeping Kevin close? It's hard to say for sure, but when you add in the context of the leaked party footage, it starts to feel like this relationship might be more complicated than we thought. The FBI investigation. What's really going on? For years, Diddy's events have been shrouded in mystery, and it seems like there's always been something lurking just beneath the surface. What might have started as harmless celebrity gossip has now turned into a full-blown investigation, and the details are getting darker. According to industry insiders, the FBI has been keeping an eye on Diddy's parties for a while now, and the rumors swirling around these events are a big reason why. The speculation about illegal activity at Diddy's parties goes way beyond the typical Hollywood excess. We're not just talking about drinking, illicit items, or raunchy behavior here. There are rumors of underage attendees being lured into these exclusive gatherings, with some being forced to participate in disturbing activities. Allegedly, young and aspiring stars have been put in compromising situations, with sexual favors being part of some unspoken initiation into Diddy's inner circle. These claims are serious, and if even half of them are true, it's no wonder the FBI has started to take a closer look. The heat has really turned up since the leaked footage surfaced, showing Kevin Hart and Diddy at one of these infamous parties. While Kevin might have been cracking jokes and playing the fool in public, the footage gave people a glimpse into a side of these parties that isn't so lighthearted. The footage raised eyebrows for a reason. It's one thing to hear whispers about what goes on behind closed doors, but when you see it in action, it's a different story entirely. This footage, paired with long-standing rumors, seems to have caught the FBI's attention. It's clear they're not just investigating for the sake of scandal. They're looking into real accusations of illegal behavior, including the exploitation of underage individuals. But here's the burning question. Why is Kevin Hart caught up in all of this? Was he just in the wrong place at the wrong time, or is there more to the story? We all know Kevin's public image is squeaky clean, except for a few scandals here and there. But being seen at Diddy's party like this has raised a lot of questions. If the FBI is stepping in now, does that mean Kevin has more involvement than we think? Or was he just another famous face who got too close to the fire? It's possible Kevin Hart didn't know the full extent of what he was walking into, but at this point, his name is part of the investigation, whether he likes it or not. The fact that the FBI is involved means there's likely more going on than just leaked footage and rumors. This investigation could uncover things that even the most die-hard Diddy fans don't want to hear. With the FBI's reputation for thoroughness, we can expect that they're looking into everything from potential underage attendees to forced participation in explicit acts, and possibly even how these parties were funded. The question now isn't just about what's going on at Diddy's parties, but who else might be implicated and how deep the scandal goes. Celebrities who won't go back, 50 Cent's and Usher's stories. It's no secret that Diddy's parties are famous for drawing in the biggest names in Hollywood, but not every celebrity is thrilled about attending them. Some stars have publicly distanced themselves from these events, claiming they're more than a little uncomfortable with the vibe. One of the most vocal critics? 50 Cent. For years, 50 has made it clear that Diddy's parties just aren't his style, and he hasn't been shy about calling them weird. 50 Cent has been throwing shade at Diddy for what feels like forever, and his beef with Diddy goes back decades. But it's not just personal. 50 has gone on record to say that Diddy's parties make him uncomfortable in ways he can't fully explain. He's joked that the atmosphere is too intimate, with people getting too close for comfort. One of 50's more famous digs was when he hinted that Diddy's parties involved some seriously strange behavior. He mentioned how awkward it felt when people were hugging from the front and the back at the same time. Clearly, he wasn't into whatever was going down. But while 50 Cent has been critical from the sidelines, there are other celebrities who've had a much more direct experience with Diddy's wild world, and one of the most interesting stories comes from Usher. Usher has a deeper connection to Diddy than most, having lived with him as a teenager. This wasn't just some brief mentorship. Usher was sent to live with Diddy in New York when he was only 14, and the things he saw during that time have stuck with him to this day. Usher has mentioned in interviews that living with Diddy was an eye-opening experience. As a young, impressionable artist, Usher was exposed to the fast-paced, often chaotic world of celebrity parties, and he saw things he didn't fully understand at the time. In one interview, Usher alluded to witnessing wild things happening around him, things that were definitely not meant for someone so young to see. While Usher has been careful about what he reveals, fans have picked up on his hesitance to talk openly about his time with Diddy. It's as if there's something darker he's holding back. This hesitancy has only fueled more rumors about what really goes down at Diddy's parties. If someone like Usher, who's been a huge star for decades, feels uncomfortable about discussing his experience, you have to wonder what he saw and why he's so reluctant to share. Could it be that these parties were already crossing the line back then? Usher's story fits perfectly into the larger narrative that Diddy's parties aren't just fun and games. They're a place where boundaries are blurred and some pretty questionable stuff goes down. While Usher and 50 Cent have their own reasons for staying away from Diddy's events, they're not the only ones. Plenty of celebrities have made subtle and not so subtle comments about the awkward, even creepy vibes they've felt at these parties. And with the FBI investigation now underway, it seems like we're only scratching the surface of what really happens at these infamous gatherings. For 50 Cent, staying away from Diddy's world seems like a smart move. He's built his brand on being tough and calling out what he sees as fake or shady behavior. As for Usher, his connection to Diddy is more complicated, but the fact that he's distanced himself over the years speaks volumes. Celebrities who've been inside Diddy's inner circle often find themselves walking away, leaving fans to wonder what exactly happens behind those mansion doors that makes even the biggest stars uncomfortable enough to keep their distance. The Fat Jewish's story, the party he'll never forget. He's a social media influencer and comedian, known for his wild sense of humor and larger-than-life personality. But even he was left stunned by what he saw at one of Diddy's infamous parties. This wasn't just your typical celebrity gathering with drinks and laughs. No, this was one of those moments that people talk about for years afterward, and it left such an impression on Fat Jewish that he's still talking about it. Fat Jewish gets invited to one of Diddy's exclusive parties, hosted at Diddy's mansion in Miami. It was the kind of event that made you feel like you'd made it just by stepping through the front door. Everything seemed normal at first, lots of pretty people, drinks flowing, and music blasting. But then, as the night went on and the drinks kept coming, Fat Jewish started noticing that things were getting a little strange. The party vibe shifted from celebratory to something more intimate and uncomfortable. In a moment, straight out of a movie, Fat Jewish was wandering around the mansion looking for a bathroom. No easy task in a place that's practically a maze. He opened a door, expecting to find a restroom, but instead he stumbled into something else entirely. There, in a private room, was a scene that immediately made him stop in his tracks. According to Fat Jewish, the room was filled with men behaving a little too closely. Diddy was lounging on a couch, casually sipping Hennessy with Felix the House Cat, a famous DJ and music producer. But they weren't just hanging out. There was something oddly intimate about the way they were interacting. Fat Jewish described the vibe as Romanesque, with the men lounging around, almost like they were in the middle of something much more private. It was the kind of moment that makes you freeze and think, am I supposed to be seeing this? Before Fat Jewish could even process what was happening, a bouncer immediately rushed over and kicked him out of the room. It was clear that whatever was going on in there was not meant for his eyes. But here's the kicker, the encounter stuck with him. He later talked about how surreal it was to lock eyes with Diddy in that moment, and even more surreal was what happened afterward. What happens next? Consequences for Diddy and Kevin. So, with all the recent revelations, rumors, and FBI involvement swirling around Diddy's parties, the question on everyone's mind is, what happens next? For years, Diddy has managed to keep his empire running smoothly, despite constant whispers about what really goes down at his legendary parties. But now, with footage leaking, celebrities distancing themselves, and the FBI supposedly investigating, it feels like the party might finally be over, or at least hitting a serious roadblock. For decades, he's been the king of the party scene, throwing some of the most exclusive, star-studded events that everyone in Hollywood wanted an invite to. His reputation as the ultimate party host has been a cornerstone of his brand, and that image has been largely untouchable until now. Sure, people have been talking about the wild things that happen at his parties for years, but it was all hearsay. Now, though, things are different. Leaked footage showing what really goes down at these events, paired with the ongoing FBI interest, is a whole new level of drama. The fact that the FBI is even involved suggests that this isn't just a celebrity scandal, it's something much bigger. There have been rumors of illegal activity at these parties for years, And if there's any truth to the stories about underage attendees or forced participation in explicit acts, then Diddy could be facing serious legal consequences. Even if nothing illegal is proven, the damage to his reputation could be enough to bring down his party empire. He's managed to avoid getting caught up in scandals in the past, but with the FBI now reportedly digging into his events, this might be too much for even him to handle. Diddy's empire isn't just built on music or business deals, it's built on his image, and if that image gets tarnished, it could all start to crumble. For Diddy, the consequences could go far beyond just losing the ability to throw his infamous parties. His entire brand, built on being the life of the party, the connector, the kingpin of celebrity culture, could be at risk. If the FBI finds anything damning, it won't just be his parties that suffer. His entire business portfolio could take a hit. Brands and businesses might not want to associate with someone under federal investigation for the kind of activities being rumored. The potential fallout here is massive. And then there's Kevin Hart. Poor Kevin seemed to get swept up in all of this, possibly without fully realizing what he was getting into. When the leaked footage of Kevin joking around at Diddy's party hit the internet, people were shocked. This wasn't the Kevin Hart they knew and loved. This was a much more explicit, raunchier side of the comedian. While Kevin's always been the type to joke around and push boundaries, being seen in this kind of environment could hurt his clean, family-friendly image. Kevin's made some missteps in the past, but he's always managed to bounce back with his charm and humor. The question now is, can he do it again? This might just be a bump in the road for Kevin, but it could also turn into something much worse. If the FBI's investigation pulls him in, even indirectly, that could cause serious harm to his career. He might not have done anything illegal, but just being associated with Diddy's parties and the growing scandal could have lasting consequences. The public can be forgiving, but when it comes to matters like this, especially with legal authorities involved, people might not be so quick to let it slide. For now, Kevin's best bet might be to lay low, distance himself from Diddy, and try to move on as quickly as possible. He could very well laugh this off and return to the spotlight once the dust settles. After all, he's a comedian. Making light of bad situations is part of his brand. But even Kevin's comedy has its limits, and this situation might be too serious to joke about. He'll need to handle it carefully if he wants to keep his career on track. So, what are your thoughts on this? Let us know in the comments below.